Hey guys, so I decided to create a answer key review video for you because I'm sure you miss me and you want to see me. And well, the reality is I think that some of this stuff is a little tricky and that it's best done by me sort of explaining it all to you. So I'm going to do that today. I'll also post, I think once I write on this sheet, it should create a written answer key as well. So I'll post that. I'm doing all this through Cami. So if you haven't gotten Cami yet or downloaded Cami, I suggest you do. It allows you to write right into a PDF and save it. Easier for me to grade if you do something like that. It's completely up to you. But all right, here we go. So let's get rid of my picture here. And this test is going to cover everything that you see here is going to be covered as on the test, either as a part 2 or multiple choice. Okay, so it asks us first to determine the axis of symmetry. Okay, well, I have a formula for that, which is x equals, use a different color than green. Let's go with blue. X equals negative b over 2a. Okay, so negative 2, because our b value comes from right here. That's our b value. A is 1. That's in front of x squared. So in this case, that's just a 1. So over 2 times 1. So that's going to be positive 2 over 2, which means that our axis of symmetry is 1. All right. Determine the turning point, and it says I have to show all work. So that means I go back to my equation and I plug in 1 for x, which is actually pretty easy to do here. Okay, 1 squared is 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Minus 8. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Minus 8 is negative 9. So looks like my turning point then will be 1, negative 9. Okay, it's also called your vertex 2. Okay, so that's it, doing it by hand. Now it says create a table for the quadratic equation above. Now I'm going to do that using my calculator. So I go to my calculator. I'm going to type in the equation. So if you have anything there, just get rid of it like I just did. X squared minus 2x minus 8. And we're going to go to our table. Now what we want is we want the point 1, negative 9 to be in the middle. So, notice my window is, I got to change the format of my table. I had it set to 0.5 because I was doing something before, but let me make that 1. Okay. All right, back to the table. Let's get 1 in the middle and then pick a couple of points on either side of it. So now I got 1, negative 9, 0, negative 1, negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Negative 8, negative 5, 0, negative 5, 0. Okay. That looks good. Now it says graph the quadratic and label the axis of symmetry in the vertex. Okay. So I have to go back to here. Negative 2, 0. Negative 1, negative 5. 0, negative 8, 6, 7, 8. 1, negative 9. And I know it's going to follow the same pattern on the other side. So, okay, there we have it. Now I got to go back to the question. I forget what it asked me to label. I'll label this other stuff in purple. It said to label the axis of symmetry and the turning point. Okay, so here's the axis of symmetry, which we already knew because we had found it earlier. It's x is equal to 1. And then here's the turning point right here, which is 1, negative 9. So that's our vertex or turning point. I think the next question says, what are the roots? So while we're here, I'm going to label those two. They're right here. -2, 0, and 4, 0. So our roots are, let me just scroll down to here. The roots are going to be x is equal to -2 and x is equal to 4. And you can also see those in the table as well, right here and right here. They're where y is 0. Okay, that's going to be one whole part 2 question. It's going to be worth a lot of points too, because there's a lot of work that just went into that whole thing. That was a majority of like the first week of stuff we did with quadratics. Okay, let's move into the second question. Model rocket is launched from a launch pad that is 1.5 feet off the ground. The path the rocket takes is modeled by the equation h equals -16 t squared plus 180 t plus 1.5. Answer the following questions using your knowledge of quadratics and the equation above. Okay, so that equation above tells us the height of the rocket, and t is the time as it goes along its path, its launch. Okay, so find the axis of symmetry. All right, that's -b over 2a. So -180 over 2 times -16. I'm going to run out of room, so I'm just going to put it over here. -180 divided by -32. So I need a calculator for that. Okay, I get 5.65. 5.625, sorry. Okay, now the question is, well, what does that represent? Well, think about this for a second. The rocket goes up and comes back down. Here is our axis of symmetry, and it's 5.625. What that is that's the time it takes in seconds for the rocket to get to its peak. Then it begins to come back down again. Okay, that's what that thing represents. Now it says find the vertex. Okay, so just like we did in the last one, we're going to put that right into the equation. -16 t squared plus 180 t plus 1.5. Except that now I got to put in all these values. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to square that number and multiply it by -16. That gives me -506.25. If I take 180 and multiply it by 5.625, I get 1,112.5 plus 1.5. All right, so add all those together, and you're going to find out that you get a number that is 507.75. Now, that tells me that that's the highest point above the ground that the rocket gets. So after 5.625 seconds, the rocket is 507.75 feet in the air. So that's what that represents. It's the peak height, the highest it gets to. It's maximum, if you want to look at it that way. Okay, so that's another important part of this test. Can you apply your knowledge of quadratics to this? All right, number 3, given the following equations in vertex form, explain how the graph of the parabola has moved or shifted from the general equation. Okay, so this just talks about, we know that when we have these numbers here, it tells us how the parabola is going to move, left or right, up or down. Remember that the first number tells you left or right, the second number is up or down. So this is a -3. Remember, it's opposite of what you would expect. So that's going to be to the right 3 and up 5. So right 3 and up 5. And if someone said, what's the vertex? I'd just say 3, 5 is the vertex. Okay, and B, it's positive 1, so that means left 1 and up 6. So negative 1, 6 is my vertex. And the last one, okay, that one is left 4 and nothing up or down. So up or down 0. So that would mean my vertex is negative 4, 0. That's all there is to that one. Now you're going to be asked about that one in its own separate question. So just make sure you realize what's in the parentheses is sort of opposite of what you would expect. All right, then last but not least, the translating this into vertex form. We did 2 days with this, a lot of notes. I did a video on this as well, a couple videos on this stuff. First, we bring the constant to the other side. Okay, now at this point, we're going to complete the square. So we take half of b. We square that. Now remember, we're squaring negative 3. That is 9. And then we add that to both sides. So y plus 1 is what I have here. X squared minus 6x plus 9. Now we factor this thing here, and it'll always factor into two factors that are exactly the same. If you remember from the video, it's always the same as the half the value of the b value that we got. So x minus 3 squared is going to be my factors. Then I just bring my 1 back over to the other side. Y equals x minus 3 squared minus 1. That's vertex form. And if someone said, what is the vertex? I'd tell them the vertex is positive 3, negative 1. Right, there you have it. If you're able to follow everything we just did in that video, you're going to be all set for tomorrow's exam. Wish you the best of luck. And if you have any questions, please reach out.